Hey, welcome to another episode of Footnotes. Today we're going to be talking to actually two people, Austin Rhodes and Thomas Rhodes, and they are brothers who are also business partners. We're going to hear a lot about what it's like to mix family and business, how to make decisions together, and how neither of them has a bad day at the same time. All this is next. Thanks for joining us today. We've got two people here today, two brothers. We've got Austin Rhodes and Thomas Rhodes, and we're sitting here in their offices here in Rhodes Branding. A lot of things I want to talk with you guys about. We had a great pre-interview, and there's a lot of trails that we can run down. But maybe let's start with, what are you guys doing today? A little bit about what Rhodes does. But then I want to talk about what it's like being brothers and being in business.
Brothers and being in business. Let's start there.
Okay.
We obviously grew up together. It's just two of us. So, like I told you earlier, we have everything on the line. We don't have 3 or 4 siblings. Everything we approach, we know that at the end of the day, we have to be able to turn it off. And we see a lot of folks in our generation, especially our parents' generation, that had a hard time turning it off. And I feel like that really bleeds over into your performance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we own and operate multiple businesses. And
how long have y'all done that together? You've been brothers all your life, but how long have y'all been sort of financial partners together?
2014.
12. 10 years.
Okay.
Yes, 10 years.
So it's not something that y'all woke up, 2 years ago and decided, hey, let's quit some jobs and do some stuff together. This is a decade.
No, we come from a line of entrepreneurs. Our dad was a business owner. Our grandfather was a business owner. Our great-grandfather owned multiple businesses. We grew up down a 6-mile dirt road in rural South Carolina. So back to the bond, in the afternoons, it wasn't like, hey, go play with a neighbor, because there wasn't a neighbor we could go play with. Mm-hmm. So we play with each other. Even though we're 4 years apart, it was one-on-one football games, digging in the sandbox together. And so we've always had that, special brotherly connection. And part of that, I think, was because of necessity and how we grew up and where we grew up, which I'm very grateful for. But it's translated well into this phase of our life as well.
Sure.
Yeah. That is actually something really unique. As I get older, I realize that growing up in such a small town, it almost feels like we grew up in a generation or two before our own. Our house, we didn't have cable growing up. So I'd come to school and they'd talk about the Braves game and, some of the games, the Nickelodeon shows that everyone grew up my age watching. I was like, what are you talking about? We had ETV, whatever the antenna could pick up. So I think growing up in a small area too, it helps you become friends with people who maybe if you had a bigger area to almost fall into a clique, you could do. But there you just didn't have that. So as I mature, I realize that's such an asset as an adult. And as I raise 2 little girls, is just looking at cliques and almost just saying, it's very sad how people will fall into those kind of cliques. But yeah, I'm honored to be here today too. I'm a big fan of the show.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think some of the things that you guys are saying are not what people usually say when they talk about, growing up in a rural background, or, with just kind of having each other. But so if you guys grew up, you were playing, you were learning how to like each other and how to get along. You were sort of inadvertently learning these lessons about social skills, if you will, for lack of a better word. What does that look like now that you're adults, if you will, and now that you make your own choices? Bring that back to us for how that impacts your business decisions or your investment decisions.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what undergirds us, to use an old word. Uh-huh. It's kind of the fabric of who we are. To Austin's point, growing up in a small town, you really have to interact and respect everyone, regardless of any background, any differences. You really look beyond that. And that really translates into our business world now. We own several businesses, and one common thread amongst all of them is values. And if you look at the values of hard work, of being honest, being humble and appreciative, what we do is unique in some aspects, but it's not unique in others. And there's other people doing what we do. We have competition. So we have to be humble in our approach and be grateful that people do choose to buy from us or partner with us. And that helps us in our investment life as well, because we look for investments that have that same common thread, not just ones that are, using financial engineering to show something good on a piece of paper.
Sure. Well, if I could press into that though a little bit, I mean, I think, the values you're talking about, I think are values that are certainly not unique. I mean, in other words, you almost have to have those things present for something to really have any sustainability or certainly longevity, much less even profit. But when those things get challenged, how do you maintain consistency? Let me phrase it that way. How do you, when you're looking at different businesses and different opportunities, and you've got kind of your overlay, for lack of a better word, that you want to put on that, how do you maintain that consistency? Because to your point, you're dealing with different people in different places, maybe even different industries. How do you stay consistent?
Well, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And so staying consistent is a daily, hourly, minute by minute journey. It's not a, hey, we've got these values, then check the box, move on.
Yeah.
It's something you have to fight for every day. And there are moments when, we all fall short of those values, and moments that we aren't living up to what we should. But it's a bigger journey that starts and really never ends if you're on it. If you think you've arrived to that destination, then you lose it.
And you have to be able to turn it off too. I mean, that's so key. And
turn what off?
Turn work off.
Okay.
I mean, burnout's real. And I think all of our teams and all of our companies will attest to the fact that we will be able to turn it off. I mean, I'm turning it off next week, leaving after the 4th. But if you just are always on, you'll get burned out. You're not going to do anyone any good. And I think at the end of the day, if you realize that we're not out saving the world, I mean, we're not curing cancer. We're not, inhabiting other planets to get our species off the earth. I mean, let's all just take a reality check, I mean, settle down. We only get one life to live. So don't take yourself too seriously. And the good thing is like every day, if he comes into my office or I go into his office, we're usually on, I mean, he's more of the left brain, I'm more of the right brain. And it's funny because we never have a bad day at the same time. So he cools me off, I cool him off. And it's rare you see that. I feel like in family businesses, because we have friends that are in family businesses, and it usually just stokes into an avalanche of emotions. And it's usually, calm down. It's going to be all right. It's cool. Let's roll.
So since you mentioned that family aspect, and again, it's kind of, you can't escape from the family aspect between you guys. But so when you have maybe instances where the strain is put or could be put on the family, I mean, how do you sort of inoculate from that? How do you refocus?
It goes back to what he just said about realizing that at the end of the day, this is what we do. It's not who we are. Mm-hmm. And what's more important than this business or any business is the family that we share. That, I have 2 nieces. He has a niece and 2 nephews that are mine. And so that right there is more important than any profit and loss statement, any balance sheet, but also, having fun. I mean, we're not only partners in business, but we're partners in recreational stuff too.
Okay.
So we have a recreational property that we'll go to, and I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, and we'll be down there, running a chainsaw or driving a 4-wheeler, wading in a swamp. I mean, fun stuff. And we're not even thinking about work, but that re-energizes us so that we can do the work part. And I had a really good mentor years ago. He wasn't a designated mentor, but I always listened. When he opened his mouth, I listened. Mm-hmm. He said, every year you get your calendar and you book your vacations first. And he's like, every 3 months you need to do something. Whether it's 1 night, 2 night away or a week away, but every 3 months you got to do something to recharge. And this guy was basically a Renaissance man. Lived on a sailboat in Newport Beach, California, sailed across, the Atlantic Ocean, just a real awesome guy. And he was wildly successful in business. And that was his key, is that every 3 months he did something outside of business to recharge.
How long ago did you receive that word?
I mean, I was probably fresh out of college.
Okay.
And burnout is real. And, 24/7, good luck with that. It's not going to work.
What's it like when you burn out? Or what do you think? I mean, what's burnout like?
Personally, you can feel your productivity meter dropping. You just feel like you're not getting anything completed. And that frustration starts to spike. And that's when I personally know it's time to just shut it down and get out.
Are there certain situations or triggers for that? In other words, is it just about a length of time where you've been at something for a month, 2 months, 3 months, or is it? I mean, what is it for you?
I think it can pop up anytime. I'm a big believer, and I tell myself every Monday is my favorite day of the week, and it gets on all of our team's nerves because I'll come in clapping on Monday. But we're big on goal setting, and it's all about chunking your goals and setting those long-term goals and then building back. I just feel like that's allowed us to realize that it's a bigger picture. It's not the destination, it's the journey. Celebrate the little successes, because you're going to have every day a little success. I mean, the air condition worked here today. That's a success. We're in Columbia. We should celebrate that, because it could be really sweaty. So if you don't celebrate those, I mean, what are we doing?
Right. Well, guys, we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about, kind of how you guys got started, some of, what you're doing, but, I appreciate your thoughts on kind of your philosophy on running businesses and what you're looking for and those attributes. But I guess if we kind of ended on just having a little bit of fun, and this may be abstract, but, we're 30, 40 years into the future. You guys are together enjoying yourselves and the people that you love. And maybe you're on the farm if you still have it. But what do you hope would have happened with the things that you're doing now? What do you want to be able to say about that future, at least in terms of the business stuff and all that? I mean, there's tons of things that can happen. But I mean, you guys say you're goal oriented, you're future focused. I mean, let us in a little bit on what you would hope that future would include.
I would hope that we will have created ripples in every business and in every customer base that just made the world a little bit better. I mean, the way we treat folks, it doesn't matter what role they play and what organization, how we come across them, but the world needs more kind people. And to, go back to our point about the bad customer, is not let them ruin you and focus on the good people. And I just hope that everything we do will create a better future. And that sounds so philosophical and corny, but that's really how we operate as business partners and as a business unit. But in 30 years, I hope I'm on a sailboat following you somewhere around Mediterranean, maybe. The ocean's clean of all the plastics, and we figured out how to suck all the carbon out of the air. That's where I hope we are.
I hope that I've helped other people realize their dreams. And that, to me, is the biggest gift. That's better than any number on a piece of paper, is by seeing somebody who has potential, you partnering with them, you helping them realize their full potential. To me, that is the check mark that I'm looking for. And to do it as many times as possible.
That sounds great. I mean, the sailboat part sounds great. And what you're talking about helping people get where they want to get, sounds great. And it's interesting, we've done, I don't know exactly what episode we're in, but I think we're in the 40s now in terms of what we're doing here. And it's pretty amazing how we've been able to interview lots of business owners that share, they're in different industries and different places, and backgrounds are different and stuff like that. You're the first brother duo that we've sat with, but I personally love it when people not only speak well of their own business, but also they're thinking about other people. That, to me, is one of the many footnotes, I think, in this discussion that I think doesn't get talked about enough. But thank you for opening your office. Thanks for hosting us and being willing to talk.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.